Ignore it. It just said I can't get in.
Okay.
I'm sorry
Um,
about that.
That's
no
okay.
problem.
I was
We're
just,
recording.
I assumed that it was my mistake, Athena.
Nope, nope. Um, after you, if I could make a quick comment after you call
Yep,
to order, Julian, and then
absolutely.
I'm gonna hop off.
Sounds great. Thank you, Athena. Um, okay, I'll call us to order here. I'm present. Raphael,
Here.
Meg,
Here.
Bernie. You're muted. I'll come back to you.
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I just have to find the button.
Erica,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
and Marcus.
Yeah.
Excellent. My only quick announcement is that our preliminary report is scheduled, or our public forum on the preliminary report is scheduled for the 16th at 7 p.m. in the town room and on Zoom. I encourage you all to attend if you can. That is a Tuesday, I believe. And we are going to, I believe it's already been posted on the town website, and we're going to move forward with amplifying it on social media and in the local news as well. An article's been posted in the Current. So that's my only announcement. We also have a slideshow from Andy. He won't be here, but I'll screen share it shortly. And Athena, you had something you want to share?
Just a couple quick things. Um, first, the public forum on the preliminary report is posted. I sent you all invitations, but just as a reminder, if you're sharing the invitation with anyone, you should share that public link that's in the meeting notice, not your personal invitation. The second thing is that on Monday, the council is going to vote. There was a recommendation from GOL not to carry over the vacancy, the appointment for the vacancy on the Charter Review Committee. So they'll be voting on that on Monday.
They're going to add
And
somebody to Monday.
no,
Sorry.
no, they're voting not to do, they're going to vote
Yeah, but
not
what
to
if,
do that.
I hope it passes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it doesn't pass, then the next iteration of GOL will need to appoint a member, which will be an
Within
interesting
5 days.
process.
It'll
Yeah.
be a
I think that's a good
And
example of a
then
waste of time. But anyway,
I want to say happy Christmas when it. And then lastly, the new council is their first meeting and swearing in is January 5th, the Monday. And we have planned, so the current president sets the agenda for that meeting. And then once a new president is elected, they will set the agenda for January 12, which is the next meeting. What we've arranged right now is for the committee to make their presentation at the first meeting. And then because we have new counselors beginning who may not have an opportunity to read through all of the charter committee's recommendations, and it takes a little bit for them to get their feet under them. We've planned for the council to have a discussion and potential referral at that next meeting in January rather than that first meeting. So the first meeting will have time for your presentation, and then there will be further discussion, and the council will decide if it wants to refer or how it wants to act on your recommendations at that second meeting in January on the 12th.
and both start at the normal time at 6:30, Athena?
Both start at 6:30.
oh,
And
God.
for the 5th, when you do your presentation, the committee can designate a member to speak on its behalf. This committee can designate a member to speak on its behalf, or we can post a joint meeting so that the entire committee or a quorum of the committee can come and speak to the council on their own behalf rather than one member. So you may want to take a moment to just consider how you'd like to do that, and then let me know so that I can post that for you if you decide to post a joint meeting. Excuse me.
Thank
And that's all I have, but
Mhm.
happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Athena. I was just wondering, we do have it on our agenda later, but I know you need to get going. Would you rather us discuss and decide now, as to how we want to post that meeting, or would you rather us do it at our agenda item and send you an email?
You can just let me know if I have to hop off. My daughter has a concert coming up, so I'm bringing her over to that, and then I'm going to
Sounds
listen
good.
to her sing. Um,
Great.
so
Great.
if I have to hop off, then you can just let me know how you'd like it.
Okay.
The deadline's not for a bit, so
Okay.
thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Athena. Very helpful.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Meg, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to suggest that we extend the proposed discussion about how we present to the council and the subjects not considered by the chair at 48 hours ahead to discuss the time between now and then in terms of not just when our meetings are, but what's our timeline for writing the final report, who's going to write it, it just seems with the holidays coming, we should put some thought into that because it's sort of our penultimate final statement. And it's coming at a pretty tricky time to have meetings.
I'll screen share the agenda in a minute. That is on our agenda.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't see it when I looked on the agenda this afternoon. Okay, thank
we
you.
have we have the town council president emailed me for a presentation. And she did eventually communicate to me that we need someone to present and so on and so forth. So that's our 9th bullet point on the agenda.
Oh, but unless we decide to have a joint meeting, as Athena just suggested. But I'm
Yes.
suggesting, I think you're having in mind, so
point in the agenda.
yeah, but between now and then, we have quite a large amount of work to do, so that's what I'm concerned about. Okay. What's so funny?
My family is here in the background because our heat went out last night.
Oh, okay.
So my grandfather is here with them, and
Okay, I just wondered what was funny because I thought maybe I
talking to
said
the
something. I
HVAC.
thought, what did I don't think I said anything.
No, it wasn't you. Talking to the HVAC guys in the background.
Okay,
I was making a joke to them.
okay.
Sorry if you hear any background noise.
But my point is, I think there's more to do than just decide who's going to, we've got a lot of work to do after next Tuesday. And also, when does the public comment end and when do we start, blah, blah, blah. So,
Great. Okay, I'll move us along. Do we have any minutes to approve?
almost.
No,
Yeah, the 26th.
No, I didn't see any. I didn't do mine.
There's nothing on the agenda.
No, I
Yeah,
sent
have
the
the agenda
26th
here.
out.
November 13th. Did anyone submit their
No,
No.
but there's none on the website that where I
November
could find.
20th.
It wasn't on.
No one submitted. Okay.
I sent
November
the
20
26th out.
Marcus sent the 26th out. Did people get to look at that? I saw the email.
No.
Nope.
Okay, no one sent the 4th out. Okay. I appreciate Marcus getting his minutes in. I believe 3 other members need to get their minutes in, and hopefully at our last meeting we will vote on those all as a package because our last meeting is the 18th. So if the minutes are not in by the 18th, we cannot have a complete set of minutes, and I can guarantee you that Councillor Haneke will tell us about that.
So are you 100% sure our last meeting is the 18th, that we're going to write the preliminary report and approve it by a week from tonight with a
we may have an
public
additional
forum on Tuesday?
We may have one additional meeting, but for the purpose of keeping minutes, go by the 18th.
Okay, so who's tonight?
Who's tonight is it looks like Bernie is tonight. Is that all right, Bernie?
Sure. That's not why I have my hand up.
Okay, perfect, great. You knew you were next on the list, I guess.
What I'm gonna suggest that at this or a subsequent meeting, some other meeting, that the committee designate the chair to review and approve any minutes outstanding when the committee is no longer in effect. That's a perfectly valid approach to this, and it means that someone has looked at the minutes and is able to say, yes, these are complete and accurate.
Excellent. That is a good suggestion, Bernie. Thank you. So I can automatically, because I did read Marcus's minutes, I will say right now that I approve of those minutes, and I'll send them to Athena to be posted.
Are we going to vote on
the
what?
committee needs to authorize you.
Yeah, we didn't vote on that.
Sorry.
We didn't vote on that,
Okay.
and the authorization would be for any minutes that haven't been approved at our last meeting.
Right.
Oh,
Final
okay.
meeting.
Okay.
And also, we didn't agree to it yet.
Yeah.
Hold on. I just want to be clear here. I may be a little confused. November 13th, November 20th, and December 4th. Are you all trying to authorize me to approve those minutes?
No, I think he's
No.
trying say if there's a issue with getting those in,
Okay.
vote on having you at a later point if they don't come in, sort of approving them, not now. I think
Okay.
we're hopeful that they come in.
Great.
And hopefully we'll get them in by the 18th.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. So try to get your minutes in for the 13th, the 20th, the 4th by the 18th. We can vote on them then. And if there's any outstanding minutes, please send them to me via email and I'll review them and ask if I have any questions or edits. Does someone want to make a motion to approve me to approve
So moved.
any remaining
So
minutes?
moved. Yeah.
after-
Second.
Great. Perfect. I will approve any remaining minutes that we have not voted on yet or have not been submitted past December 18th. Just send them to me via email and I'll approve them and send them to Athena at that time. So we'll move forward with voting. Bernie?
Yes.
Myself, I'm an I. Raphael?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for your suggestion, Bernie. I did not know that was even allowed or possible, so that's great. Public comment, I see no attendees. So that settles that pretty quickly. We have any outreach subcommittee report, Erica?
I can report that Meg has done 1 million emails and reached
Only
reached out
1,000.
to a lot of people about the existence of the preliminary report and the public forum. We also sent the the preliminary report and public forum information to Sam at the communications office. She posted it on the website. I believe Athena may have sent that also. So, but it was posted on the website and it's gotten out. It's onto social media. I'm happy to say it looked like it's on the front page of the town website itself, aside from being on the calendar. What else am I missing?
I think Scott Mersbach's going to have a story tomorrow.
That's right. I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
And also,
Meg
it was
put
in,
Scott back in touch from the Gazette with myself and with Julian, and I think each of us had a call with him and gave him some feedback about what the public forum's all about, where we are in the process, and the article, sorry, I cut you off, Meg, is appearing
That's okay.
soon.
Yeah, I should really have a chair's report. Thank you, Erica. But basically, I spoke with Scott Mersbach and so did Erica, and we're going to have an article in the Gazette this coming week. An article's been sent to the Indy and the Current. It's already been posted in the Current and the Indy. And we also have it posted on the town website, and Samantha is going to reach out and post it on social media as well. So we're making good progress in terms of that. Yes, Meg?
I'll just finalize so we don't have to do it again when you have outreach about the league posted it in their December newsletter. It was in the DONA newsletter and in 15 neighborhood emails. At least I've sent it to a bunch of neighborhoods. Thanks to Ken for sending out 3 of those.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I've sent it to each of the counselors, personalized, and I think it's out there.
I also
The
sent a
donut.
preliminary report to all the counselors so they can go forward with it. Okay, so feedback didn't meet. Is that correct, Ken?
That's correct. We did not meet.
Great. Thank you. I will get us started. Do folks want me to screen share the agenda? Is that helpful?
Sure.
There we go. Since we're now on final report plan and work team, I just wanted to inform the committee that we will, during the preliminary report public forum planning, I'll screen share Andy's slideshow and we'll work on that. And during the final presentation to town council time, we will discuss what Meg was sharing about and include that in sort of our final wrap-up planning. We consider the fact that we may need one additional meeting. So I will start us with final report, plan, and work team. I guess I'll first dare to ask, do we have two people who would like to collaborate and one person who would like to edit our final report? And I'll let folks raise their hand if they would.
I don't mind handling the editing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Raphael. Erica?
I would like to have my contribution be a continue work on the addendum. There were several sections that we left off that need to be completed.
Excellent. You just want to work on the addendum, not
Yeah.
the final report? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we have an editor, we have someone to work on the addendum. Do we have two committee members who would be interested in drafting the final report to give to the committee, hopefully by the 18th?
Wait, did you say by the 18th?
Hopefully, yes.
48 hours after the public forum?
Correct. And then we would make further edits
So-
at that meeting. Meg.
We should let people know that the last moment one of the questions is, when is the deadline for commenting on the preliminary report? So you're saying it's Tuesday evening
Yes.
and people have 48, this committee has 48, okay, wow.
Raphael?
Yeah, connected to Meg's question, could we step back a bit and think about our process
Yeah,
for like moving from preliminary report to final? Like, how do we make the decisions about what's kept, what's moved off? Well, what's the process?
and added.
Yeah, and added.
So
People are coming to me now with things to add that they didn't.
And are
Yes.
we adding?
Yeah, are we adding?
Yeah.
Good. Sorry, I'll stop talking, but
yes, we
I'm
can
kind of
add.
alarmed about our timeline. Never mind, sorry.
Yes, we can add to the report. We the bottom line is we can either, I'm trying to avoid a meeting over the holidays. We may have to have a meeting over the holidays, but with the final report, we would have the two people who volunteer. They would draft a narrative, draft a cover sheet. Erica would send the draft addendum, and then we would have our public forum. And then on the 18th, we would vote on the public forum, or we would vote on issues raised at the public forum, whether to include new things, whether to not include new things, exclude stuff, make changes, etc. And at that meeting, we'll have the Collins Center present. And my thought was that the Collins Center would then be able to help us make live edits on the screen with the votes, so that we have a final report. We can make those live edits on the 18th with the help of the Collins Center, and then we can hopefully by the end of the meeting have that final report approved, and the Collins Center can send me a final copy to send to Athena and the council. And we may need to schedule an additional meeting if that timeline doesn't work out. We also do need to figure out a presentation, but that's what we're going to figure out tonight. It's not, I acknowledge and agree, it is not perfect by any means. We are pressed for time. We have a deadline to reach from the council, and we have folks who celebrate the holidays. We have the holidays coming up. So if we have to meet on over the holiday break, we will. But Raphael and then Erica.
Do you mind not screen sharing? Do people mind? So I don't know if people need to see this still. But could we circle back to like additions? So I think this process has emerged in terms of we put forward 18 recommendations. Is there time, or is it plausible, possible to add more recommendations at this point? And I'm just dealing with the 18 recommendations connected to the charter.
I would say it is possible to add more recommendations up until our meeting on the 18th. And on the 18th, we would make a motion and have a second, theoretically, for an addition to be made. And then that addition would be added by Collins, assuming that we already have the language in something that we, in the previous red list that we didn't vote for, and we could make those additions. I think it's important to keep the door open to making those additions. 18 recommendations is a very tiny number.
But I would say there was a process to get to that 18 that involved discussion, voting, thinking about Colin's recommendations, other recommendations that emerge. No time for that. It's just a question for the committee as a whole. And in addition to that, like keeping or reducing this 18 based on additional input from the public or others. What's our process for determining what stays or not? Just questions for this committee. And the first one is additions or not. Julian says yes. I think Meg said too. Just for the whole committee in terms of how you feel about that.
Good questions, Raphael. Erica?
Yeah, as much as I would like to be done by next Thursday and feel like that's a sort of concluding part of the process, I'm not sure that that's realistic. But just a couple notes. I think that we do need to be open to additions, both from what we hear at the public forum, which is going to take a minute to process into some kind of list or bullet points or something that we need to vote on in a meeting. That's a process. And then I think also that we need to allow for the possibility that we might want to return to the original list of suggestions and see if there's anything that we feel that we missed. See if there's anything from the complete feedback list that we didn't fully scoop up either into a specific item in the chart or into something in the addendum. Finalizing something like this, I think, takes a good amount of sweeping up at the end, and I wouldn't want to rush that part of the process. As much as I'd like to be done and not have a meeting over the holidays, I'm very resistant to that, like I'm sure everyone in this meeting is. I think that we have to plan for it because I think it's exceedingly ambitious to think that in 2 hours next Thursday night we could finish the whole thing.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to step away for a moment. As I explained to some of you, our heat went out a few days ago, and we have the heating technicians here trying to fix it. Ken and then Marcus.
Number one, I love to be aggressive about this. So I'm in, part of me is absolutely with Julian. Like, I mean, not about the 18th per se, but, the 18th per se, but I want to be aggressive. I also want to be thorough, understand that there's process. Like Raphael said, I have a hard time believing, also just my personal opinion, I have a hard time believing that we're going to somehow remove any of these recommendations. We've gone through the process. I think they all stay unless somebody has a really strong, rebuttal or whatever, we can discuss it. But I definitely want to give air to the possible additions. I speak only for myself that I am around, so I can meet if it butts up against closer to the holidays. We're not taking that vote just yet, but that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ken. Marcus and then Raphael.
Thank you. I thought we had a process for input, right? We've had forums. Is there a particular reason why we're still adding at this stage? I mean, are we going to wait? If we start adding now, are we going to allow input on January 5th and 6th?
I'm assuming Ken's hand is up from earlier. Raphael and then Erica.
This is connected to the last comment. I think we should be clear about what our process is for this additional feedback that we're receiving, public forum and otherwise. I think the timing thing is important. Like we have seen, like there are things that people recommend that aren't charter worthy. Like how are we going to deal with that? I think having a process could help us with like just moving through this quicker. Like what's the role of this forum? Like what does it play in sort of, what role does it play in shaping the final report? Additional feedback, what role does that play? So that's helpful to know.
Yeah, thanks, Raphael. Erica, since you've already spoken, I'm just going to move to Bernie real quick and come right back to you. Bernie?
Yeah, I'm having been through umpteen things like this. I think the final report is fairly well cooked. I think it's just about done now. And what we're going to look for at the public presentation is some feedback on how well we've explained ourselves, where we may have to refine things. I don't see us, unless there's something compelling that none of us have thought about, emerges at the last minute. I don't see anything being added to it. There's always a prospect of saying, yeah, we got 18 points, but point number such and such is pretty feeble. Maybe we should take it out. We don't have to do that. So I really see the public hearing as not as some feedback as to how well the report will be received, how thorough our work has been, and not as a point where we have to feel compelled to add to this. I think, again, if somebody raises some, and at this point I can't imagine it, if somebody raises a point that's really compelling, then it may prompt us to come back and add something to the report. What happens at the public hearing may be more grist for the addendum, in terms of how we saw the public hearing and how people reacted to it, or that might be part of the preamble to the final report. So I think I'm around through the holidays. I think we should probably schedule up another meeting, because I think we're highly likely to need it, but I don't see the meeting on the 18th as being any kind of a wholesale revision of what the document is. I think you see it as being a refinement.
It's helpful. Thank you.
Erica, and then Ken, and then Raphael.
Thank you. I don't see it being a wholesale revision either. To be clear, I just think that my larger point was that I don't whatever we hear at that meeting, whether it's some sort of gentle feedback or brand new suggestions that we want to consider, either way, I just wanted to allow for the possibility that there may be things we want to discuss and include. Whether that's in an addendum or in a chart remains to be seen. It's unlikely that it would be a kind of charter language revision that would emerge out of that public forum conversation, but I don't want to foreclose on that necessarily. And the other thing I wanted to say is that I think I wanted to clarify my memory. I think it came up in a previous meeting about when we are actually closing the door on the public comment website, the form, and what we want to do about what has come in since we compiled the big list and that date that we have yet to determine. That's an open question.
Thank you, Erica. Ken, and then Raphael, and then I have my own comment.
Echo what Erica just said about we're going to need some time after that. We're going to need another meeting after that feedback session to discuss whether this is recommendation level stuff or it's addendum stuff. I don't think everything's going to be cut clear, and we're not going to all be in the same boat with all these things. We're going to have to discuss them. I'm kind of an editor by nature or by my job. So I would imagine that people will give us feedback on how we wrote the report. Aesthetics, in other words. So, and whether or not we want to take that to heart or not is completely up to us. So that's kind of what I expect out of the public forum. If people have repeated what somebody else has said, if somebody comes to us about the mayor thing or comes to us about the finance committee or things that we've already talked about, we listen politely and move on. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Raphael.
I think in terms of how the public forum or additional feedback could be useful is we have the 18. The final report should have some details about reason. Like right now we have rationale based on certain things. This report could include like public sentiment about the 18 that's named. Large percentage of people interested. I think we should think about our public forum as a space to just hear more about the 18. And hearing more about the 18 could help with the final report.
Thank you. Ken, do you still have your hand up? Great. I just had my own comment. I think I'm mostly on the same page as what Erica said in that I think the public forum on the preliminary report, it's important that we don't basically say to the public, your feedback isn't going to do anything at this point. I think that's not very helpful. And in my mind, although there are certain changes that at this point in the process, it would be too onerous to make, I think that if we do need to schedule a separate meeting, if we need some help from Collins Center, etc., I don't see anything wrong with including new things that we have not heard at this point in the process, or reconsidering something that a member of the public brings us. Let's say, sometimes I've seen folks bring forward a body of research to the town council that's pretty compelling. I mean, if we get something like that, something that has really been thoroughly vetted, it might be worth considering. And we don't have the time to take on 200 recommendations, but I think we should leave the door a crack, if you will. Not wide open, but enough that folks can have their thought if they need to. And so, yeah, I guess that's sort of where I fall. I'll go to Marcus, then I'll go to Raphael. And I do think that at the end of the day, we need 2 people to volunteer to write the final report. And that is what this conversation, its end goal is. So I just wanted to remind the committee of that. Marcus?
Thank you. Yeah, I am really concerned. I mean, this is Amherst, right? Let's not beat around the bush. We are going to get lots of people thinking new things at the last minute. But to Raphael's point, we need a scope for this meeting, and it needs to be clearly defined. Yeah. This is a meeting, a public forum on the preliminary report, not the whole process, not the whole charter. It's a public forum on the preliminary report. If they want to add something, they need to come to it in the form that it is in the report. But I am really struggling because we have given, as other people have said, we have been back and forth with Collins on things. We've got things ready to go to KP Law on ideas. We don't have that time to do that by January 5th. So if someone comes in and throws, a grenade and just lobs it in, we now are struggling and using up our time for that potentially small item, when we have the whole report to consider and to finalize. I think we need to be very clear and very firm on what the scope of the meeting is.
Thank you, Raphael.
Yeah, I'm going to follow that in that this forum is about the preliminary report. So being clear about that is crucial. I do think a point made earlier about after the initial report, what came in from the public, has that been viewed, attended to, in what way is important. But I think the point that was just made about like opening this up, the public forum, I think it's tricky. I think you want to have time to focus on give us some insight or sort of thoughts about the 18 points in this preliminary report. And the addendum has a lot of stuff in it too. That in of itself is a meeting that will
Mhm.
provide us with guidance around like moving from preliminary to final. I still want to miss that opportunity in terms of share details about these 18, the other things in the addendum. And if that's sort of covered, dealt with, I think that's a lot of time. I worry though about all things are open for consideration.
Mhm.
We name it Forum on Preliminary Report.
Right,
Thanks, Bernie.
agree.
Yeah, I'm going to agree that, this meeting is about the preliminary report. And the bottom line is it's our document and we're going to have to submit it based on our judgments. We've heard a lot from a lot of people. I think at this point in time, we're going to solicit feedback. People are going to tell us how well they think we've done, if we've made the mark or missed the mark. But it needs to focus on the preliminary report. I have no illusion that we will have 2 hours in which everyone will stay on task. Ain't going to happen. Never happens anywhere. Not. It's not Amherst. It's anywhere. People are going to have their point that they want to make, which is fine. They can make their points. We may have missed something totally, and if we've missed something totally, then we need to say, in our preliminary, in the hearing about this preliminary report, these points came up. They merit future consideration because we couldn't do it. That's the kind of thing I think where we're at. And I would not want to have this framed as an open session on anything. We've had the open sessions. We have hundreds of responses. And it's our responsibility now we've taken those, we filtered them, we've added some of our own. So it's our responsibility now to produce something that we can bring to the council. One thing that we haven't talked about that I think I would hope that would be available, if not as part of the report, then a letter from the town attorney simultaneous with the report or shortly after that tells the council what efforts they need to make if they choose to take one of these recommendations. Is this a recommendation they can simply vote on? Is this a recommendation that's going to take special legislation? If it takes special legislation, are the voters going to have to accept after the legislation comes back? Those are some fundamental things that we need to have tagged with each of these recommendations and going forward. And so we need to, communicate with KP Law and say, this is your task.
Erica.
I feel like we're talking about a couple of different things, and even though they're intertwined, like
Thank
one
you.
is the format and the content of the public forum itself, which I think is really important, and one is the rest of our process for creating the final report. And they impact each other. And so what I would love to get clarity on is if we're committing to another meeting. So just for the purposes of discussion, I would just like to make a motion right now that we are going to have another committee meeting on the 29th, on or about, depending on Athena's availability and everything else. Because whether it's a different date or not, if we know that that's happening, that really changes what kind of has to happen on the 18th in terms of processing what comes out of the public forum. And so I'm just thinking backwards and thinking if we put that, we need to kind of put something out there to work backwards from. So that's my motion.
Second.
I was going to second that. I agree. Raphael?
No, you could go ahead. You could deal with them. You could deal with that motion. You could deal with that vote.
Great. We'll vote on that. I'll start with Meg.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Myself, I'm an I. Bernie.
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Raphael.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, damn it.
I.
Oh, don't be so enthusiastic, Raphael. Come on.
Yes, yes.
I'll put up a meeting for the 29th. Thanks very much. Raphael, did you still have a comment to make?
I'll hold off. I'll hold off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meg, you have a comment?
Yeah, just I think we should have a strategy, expect to have a strategy discussion at that meeting on the 29th, beside what the content is, but how we're going to handle that meeting. I'll just give you an example. Someone on the council said, "Oh, you haven't had KP Law read everything you proposed?" I said, "No," and I explained why we didn't. To be ready to anticipate what we think we might hear as critiques, so that we're not sort of blindsided. I don't want to discuss that now, but I'm just saying others of us may have heard things that are like not just what's in the content of the report, but what might come up in the process of presenting it to the council at that meeting on the 5th. And I don't want to talk about what I just said, but I think
No, I heard
we should put all of that stuff out on the table before we walk into that meeting.
I heard the same critique, possibly from the same counselor.
So
Possibly.
maybe others, yeah.
Maybe others have the same opinion.
But we need to
I-
have an answer that doesn't sound
Yeah.
defensive. Sorry.
Right. We need to have an answer that isn't, I think lawyers in the legal system really screw us over, which is
Or
my
defensive,
opinion,
like, oh, we're so
not-
sorry. Or
right, but it's not something we can share to the entire group. So we need to have a good slideshow with a full explanation that's rational, if that makes any sense. Other comments, questions? Raphael?
Well, we still have to return to the writer of final report or writer. But I do think, though, like it matters if we're open to adding new things to the 18. I think that's a different process than getting some feedback for this preliminary report and moving it towards the final. It's just different in terms of the
motion.
No, I don't know where people are. So I don't know where people are.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in agreement. We need to figure out who is writing this final report.
well, Andy's not here. How about Andy?
Andy's not here. I understand that myself, Raphael, Erica, and Ken have already written reports. Andy did some editing. Raphael's volunteering to edit. Andy's not here. He did
And
once say to me,
Meg and Andy and I did the addendum also.
yeah, he doesn't want to write a full report. So I don't know. I guess I'm looking to anyone who wants to, but particularly Marcus, Meg, Bernie, and Andy, who's not here, if you all would be interested in doing this.
Well, I'm happy to help Erica with the addendum, and I'd be happy to work on an prologue or a preamble or an introduction, but I don't feel competent to write the report. But I'm happy to work on the addendum, which I already helped a little bit with, and I'd help with the preamble if we decide to do one.
Yeah, I can certainly help. I was just at a nice rink right now. So, I have a lot of things going on, but I can certainly help out with the final report. Absolutely.
Great.
Where I can.
Yeah, and I will too. But with the understanding that it's basically a fine tuning and update of what we have right now and not a extended revision.
I guess we need to have a motion for who is going to work on the final report and to appoint them to work on it. So does someone want to make a motion?
Meg, you're muted if you were saying something.
Thank you. Thank you. I've moved that Bernie and Marcus write the final report with Andy helping out if he's available.
Can I make a friendly amendment that we
Sure.
add Raphael as editing the report?
Did
Since
he
he's
offer?
volunteered? Yes.
You
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
yeah,
They did.
add Rafi.
Yes,
Okay,
he-
add Raphael.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Raphael, Bernie, Marcus, and Andy, or
Well, I don't think
combined.
I don't think we should include Andy.
Okay,
Agreed.
Bernie and Marcus, who's suddenly
I-
not here. Oh, there he is.
I'm also under the assumption that Andy or Ken or anyone else who wants to jump in on this and offer suggestions will do so in terms of the body of the report and in terms of if we see anything in the addendum, any of us see anything in the addendum that what we think needs to be looked at, we can forward that to Erica or Meg. So it'll be fluid.
Great. And you all know to, yep, sorry, 1 second, Ken.
Sure.
You all know to get back to us with something on the 18th, and then we'll have an additional meeting on the 29th. Great.
Correct.
Ken and then Raphael. Sorry.
Happy to support Raphael in the editing. Raphael, if your eyes bug out of your head and you need somebody else to look at it,
Great.
or whatever way I can do that for you.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Excellent. So I guess we'll vote on that. Raphael?
Yeah, I'm gonna move that we only stick to the recommendations that are preliminary report in terms of moving. We only stick to those. And we don't add additional recommendations to not the addendum, but the primary report. I think we should stick to the 18.
Just no adding or no subtracting either?
No adding.
Just no adding, so we can lower the number.
Yep.
Does that motion have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. I guess for the sake of time, we'll move straight to voting on it. I'll start with Erica.
No.
Myself, I'm a no. Meg?
No,
Ken?
No.
Marcus?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
And Raphael?
Yes.
Okay, that motion fails. So I will then make the motion that we may include additional edits and additions to the final report should they be properly vetted, researched, and not be disruptive in nature to the final process.
Can I ask, how do we decide when something is disruptive?
No.
That is a excellent question.
And to follow that, how are we deciding what's added?
So we would vote as a committee to decide if we want to add something or not.
Well, if we're supposed to have a report done for the 18th, and we have the hearing on the preliminary report on the 16th, that doesn't give anybody any time to do anything. I'm willing to work on this, but I'm not willing to get myself tied up in the knots with ideas that people have had plenty of time to bring to our attention.
Erica?
Um, the reason why I brought up the putting a date on an additional meeting is partly because of this. So if whatever happens at the public forum has to be processed by us as a group, if there's anything worth discussing, even just for the addendum, whether there's something we've decided to add in a really like circumspect way to the chart of suggestions itself, that has to be decided on the 18th, so that the writing group can proceed. In other words, if we hear 3 suggestions at the public forum and we decide to include one, that decision needs to happen on the 18th, and that door needs to close
Yeah.
affirmatively on the 18th, like, because that's our last kind of working meeting as a deciding body, where like I think of the meeting on the 29th as a sort of a final meeting for the process of writing, not for kind of new ideas at that point. So I'm thinking, this is just my 2 cents. I am thinking of the meeting on the 18th as a way to process the last round of input that we've heard, and just sort of make a decision how to proceed. I'm not suggesting that this group that we've selected to write the final report have a final report to bring on the 18th, because it doesn't seem viable to me.
Thanks, Erica. Ken, and I will rescind my motion for now.
That was my understanding too about what Erica just said. I'm not expecting the final report to be ready on the 18th. I think, I guess I'm a romantic in the sense that it would probably take a Hail Mary on the 16th for us to go, oh, that's a great, these are really great points, or that's a great point that that's something that maybe should rise above. But it's going to have to take a Hail Mary to do that. But I want to be open to that, I guess.
I agree. Thanks, Ken. I rescind my motion because I feel like Erica and Ken may have a better worded motion to make to get the committee to some sort of consensus. And I was wondering if either of you would be willing to make a motion of how to dispose of additional recommendations at this point. Marcus, Raphael, then Bernie.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just concerned that, again, if we open this up beyond the scope of considering considering the preliminary report, which is what the meeting is, that we are not going to do justice to what is provided at the meeting, right? So for all of the discussions and everything that we have had multiple meetings on each of these things. We've had feedback from the Collins Center. We've had all of these aids to our decisions that have come into those 18 recommendations. We're not getting that on a meeting and a half over Christmas, right? It's just not happening. So if we get someone that is very passionate about a proposition that they are providing, and we just say no because we've shot ourselves in the foot, we don't get to give them the level of consideration that we have had up to this point by opening it up to everything. I want to get back to Raphael's point. We need a scope for the meeting, and we need to stick to it. If we open this up, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Do you mind if I go, Julian?
Go
You're
ahead,
muted.
Ken. Sorry.
So for the writers and us, we have to be aware, like the recommendations in the final report need one rationale. Collins Center has helped with that. We've talked about that throughout the process. And you also have to really think about the original charter language and what's revised. So that work has been done for the 18. If we add new elements, that work also has to be done. it's been helpful to have the Collins Center guidance. For new things, I'm not sure where we are with that. So writers, us, that's in play moving forward. So rationale, recommendation, original charter language, new language, that's in play for other things in the report.
Bernie?
Is that for Bernie?
I'm really seeing this in Raphael's, Marcus, and Red point. We need to put a framer on this, and we need to say, this is what we've produced. You're welcome to get a better understanding of it. You're welcome to offer a critique. I don't think if someone comes in, and it's likely that someone may come in with, their 110-page research report saying, you should have done this. Well, the response is, where were you? We've been doing this for over a year. And we have put in time on all of these. We've been careful about them. We've discussed them. We've debated them. We've had the Collins Center research them and provide us with some feedback. And we're not going to be able to replicate that in a week. We're just simply not going to be able to. And I would love to have this be an ongoing process where people can come in at any time. And I really think that charters, constitutions, that kind of thing have to be ongoing living documents that get reviewed and changed and updated as circumstances present themselves. But for what we're doing for this first initial review, we're pretty much done. So the question would be, we take the preliminary report and we refine it. We explain it better. We put some more context around it, and that's it. If people have things that they think we've missed, then we should be upfront and say, yeah, people think we missed this. But the bottom line is, this is our judgment, and not a popularity contest or pulling suggestions out of a hat. I'm really, I wish we had this preliminary hearing a month ago, because we would have had the opportunity to go through and do the kind of some of the work that we've done already. But we haven't. And I think Raphael or Marcus is correct. We've sort of boxed ourselves in. And so we should just admit it. People are not going to, so there will be some people that aren't happy about it, but that's the way life is.
Raphael?
Yeah, it's sort of a additional thing that we should consider. I think Erica, in the addendum that we saw, there was something about thinking about this process, how we did. I think it would be good to really sit with that as a committee. And also offer the public, maybe if folks are open to that, to just hear from them about how this process went. I think that should be in play too.
Thanks, Raphael. I have my own comment. I think that we've done quite a lot of judging in our report. We whittled down going from like 200 recommendations to 18. In my mind, that is a very small amount of changes to a charter that a lot of people in town have said is fundamentally and systemically flawed. I think that realistically, that low number of changes is representative of partially what we had capacity for as a committee, and I understand that. But I think that realistically, cutting off the process to say we won't add anything at all new now, and we may not even make edits that folks suggest to the preliminary report. What is the purpose of a public forum if we're basically just hearing what people say and saying, okay, well, too late. I mean, some of the folks who are saying, I want to ask you, as genuinely, not as a gotcha question or anything, just genuinely ask, what do you see the purpose of the preliminary report form as being if it's not to make additions and changes? Just a venting space? I don't know. I'm curious to hear. Raphael?
To me, the preliminary report forum is on the preliminary report. And I think we've had a process that has involved people offering feedback about changes to the charter. We're at this phase now. And if folks want to, I hear folks, addition needed, possible, but I just want folks to know, like, to me, like, the writers have to be aware. If we add to that 18, the rationale element, original charter, that work has to be done. So I don't know who does that. I don't know. I don't know if I think it was great to have feedback from Collins to help with that. And I'm not sure that happens in the timeline. It doesn't happen now if we add additional things.
Thank you. Marcus?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is just the same as any normal document process, right? Julian, any of your final reports, you're not rewriting the report with 2 days to go. Well, if you are, then there's some real problems, right? That's where we're at right now with this. We've had the input phase. Now we're in the editing phase. This is just how it is in any normal report provision. We can't open up the floodgates at this stage. As we've been saying, we're not going to be able to give it the justice that we're doing. Well, I'm not saying we shut the door on everything. What I'm saying is we have a scope that is on the preliminary report. That is the scope of this meeting, right? It is a forum on the preliminary report, not a forum on the charter, not a forum on the work we've done to date. It's a forum on the preliminary report. Just the same way as if you went to your advisor 2 days before your meeting. It's not a forum there on the work you've done to date or the class thus far. It's a forum on the report. That's where we're at.
I see your hand, Ken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
so I
waiting.
reckon. You what?
I've been waiting a bit.
Yeah, so go ahead. Yeah.
Should we go forward? Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm not trying to quote you, Bernie, and think that's what you're gonna say in the plenary report. Hey, where were you? There's got to be. I'm not suggesting that you're gonna say that, but there's got to be some sort of order to this. When people repeat it, when factions, and I've come to meetings, to public input meetings, and there are factions who have agendas, and they're not one person. There's gonna be multiple people saying, where the hell is blah, blah, blah? And I don't want the meeting to teeter on, we already talked about that, you had your chance, sit down, or whatever it is. I don't want the meeting, I don't want to end this poorly, which I think won't necessarily happen, but absolutely has the potential of happening. And that's just sort of meeting, wrangling a meeting, which is going to fall on Julian's shoulders, I would imagine, unless we all have an equal voice and saying thank you, but we're all set now. We're moving on. Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. Bernie, then Meg, then Erica, then Raphael.
Well, sometimes I'm as subtle as a train wreck. I'm not going to say to somebody again, it depends on what the person is. People are going to have their say. They're going to be listened to. My understanding of the hearing that we're having is to get a judgment on the preliminary report. to help refine it, to
Yep.
move it along. If there's some major failing, then we need to acknowledge that. Can we fix it in a week's time? I'm not sure. Okay, I don't. We have a fairly plain vanilla charter. It looks like most of the charters, cities and or managers type charters in the Commonwealth. There's only a handful of things here that Amherst has done differently. So it's not a flawed document that just fell out of the sky. It's based on mass law. We're going to try to understand what people are saying about our efforts. We're going to have to acknowledge it. If we failed, we're going to have to, suck it up and say, yeah, we made a mistake. Can we fix it in a week? I don't think so. I could be surprised. I've known to have been wrong. Happened just last year.
Last year?
Yeah, just last year.
Well, for me, it happened last week.
Just last year.
Oh, God.
This is what I get for being flip. I mean, I'm trying to inject some humor in this.
I understand.
People are going to have their say. Whether we act on what they say remains to be seen.
Correct.
And
Completely.
that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I'm next.
Yes, you're next.
So I think we have consensus here, and we should move to talking about our strategy if we need to, about how to actually implement what we agree on. I think we agree on 4 things. The public forum is about the preliminary report, period. Second, it's unlikely that anything will come up that will change the substance. But third is we're open in case we're wrong, and we might do some fine tuning, but in the 4 is we need a plan for how we're going to handle the public forum so that we don't, if we're all going to be there, that we're all carrying, I don't want to say carrying the company line, but that we're all on the page and nobody goes off and says, oh, that's a good idea. I think we should change the, I think we agree that this performance about the preliminary report, we did a whole bunch of work. We don't need to say it's unlikely to change. We're looking for fine tuning, but in case we're wrong, we're open to it. Very unlikely, extremely unlikely. And we need to talk about how we're going to handle it. Is Julian going to do all the talking? Are we going to all sit up there in a row? And we don't have to let's talk about strategy, but I just want to be sure we don't blow it at that meeting, which will be videotaped by somebody. I don't mean to say it's like a political campaign. We have to stay on message, but we need to be sure we're not opening the door to anything we can't handle at this late hour of our process.
I want it to be more of a roundtable discussion than a.
Well, I just think we all have to be sure that we're all on the same page, the 8 of us.
Yeah. Erica. And then
I'll take my hand down. Whoops, I did already.
Oh.
Sorry.
Erica?
I had a comment about the issue about the whatever we hear at the public forum. And I want to just be in agreement that the public forum is about the preliminary report. That full stop, that's what we're there to talk about and to respond to. I also fully expect that we're going to hear things that don't fall into that report, or people put in their own words that isn't about Article 2.3, whatever, and just is responsive to the whatever issue at hand that makes sense to them in legal language or not, and we're going to hear that. And I don't think, well, I'm not going to be saying to anyone that's not relevant, and I don't think anyone here would. So I just wanted to put out the idea that we have the option to scoop up some of the things that we hear at that public forum that don't fit, or that we don't have time to fully, properly consider and give their due in the form of the chart, that we can put a section in the addendum, which still has to be completed. If we agree as a group that we heard something at that public forum, that makes sense. But here we are, we don't have time or proper resources to fully consider it and get a consult from the Collins Center to put it into the proper language. But here we want to include it, like we heard this. It's a record of the thing that we heard. And council should know about it as part of the review process. I don't know if I need to make a motion to that effect, but that's my sort of proposal for how to deal with
Right.
it.
Thanks. Raphael?
Yeah, I like what Erica shared. I think, and this connects to maybe us thinking about how this forum will be organized. I think you could there definitely should be a focus on like what's in this preliminary report. But I think if folks come to the table with other things, I think somewhere it could be reflected. I just think like including it in the body of this main report is just tricky. I think the process of vetting things and getting guidance mattered big time. Trying to do that in a short amount of time again is tricky, but I think it should be represented. And if folks here feel that way, there's certain things that are emerging in the forum or also in that feedback after the initial report. I don't know if we've looked at that stuff enough yet, but I think that's helpful. I also want to say, Julian, if you look at these reports, you say small amount, but I've looked at a number of them, and I think many of them are in that range. It's not like 70 something changes. So I just want people to be aware of that.
Thanks.
But I like what Erica's offering.
Do
Yeah,
I need to make a motion to that effect, or?
I think that's a good idea, Erica. Yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we organize the forum around response to the preliminary report, and anything that we receive that isn't a direct comment on the existing report, we collect into commentary that we discuss on the 18th for inclusion into the addendum.
Second.
Thank you. I was just going to share in terms of moderating, discussing the preliminary report at our public forum. I see it as more of a roundtable discussion than a talk at us. I've always been really put off, quite frankly, by the town council not basically having public comment where you just talk at them. I want to encourage a space where we talk with members of the public and discuss their ideas and pick out what they're saying and be like, hey, we're talking about the preliminary report now. I hear your suggestion. Here's the document. Where could that fit in? And pick out what they're saying. I think that that's part of our job at the preliminary report, to have it be more of a roundtable discussion, if you will. So I'm in favor of Erica's motion. I just wanted to add that caveat. Other
Sounds
comments?
like we need to vote.
Nope. Okay. We'll vote. Raphael?
Yes.
Myself, I'm an I. Bernie?
Yes.
Ken?
I
Marcus?
Yes.
May Gage?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Great. That is all for now. We will now move on to the outreach. We've sort of discussed outreach for the.
We did it.
I will now move us along to the final presentation to town council. Excuse me. I will now move us along to the preliminary report public forum planning. We've done these two items. We'll move on to the preliminary report planning, and I'm going to screen share what Andy emailed if folks haven't had a chance to look at that. Erica, did you have a comment?
When we start this discussion about the format.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
Personally, I think this is a useful tool that Andy has started creating, even if we make revisions to it. My primary questions about planning for the forum have to do with facilitation and note taking or note keeping. Given what we just voted on and the collection of some of that feedback and a decision about what to do with it 2 days later, it's important that we have good notes coming out of it. But facilitation, you mentioned, Julian, a sort of roundtable format, and I'd love to hear how you imagine that happening. What's the best way for a committee of 8 to facilitate a public forum that's coherent?
Yeah, thank you, Erica. So my thought was we have a few members give this presentation to the public. We make it extremely clear that we're talking about the preliminary report here. We provide printout copies of the preliminary report for members of the public to see at the forum. And we then I'll ask people to raise their hands. And we will bring them up. Whoever raises their hands first, starting in person, then on Zoom, and we'll have them share their comment, and then I'll ask the committee for any questions on their comment. And committee members can attempt to, in their questions, narrow it down as to, like, for example, be like, are you referring to section XX of the charter in the preliminary report? And is this the change you're looking for? Not all comments will be along that line, but with public comments that are, or that we can decipher that. And I'll allow committee members to ask questions, and then I'll, as chair, facilitate and allow the public commenter to respond and further discuss the issue. And I'll go from there. And we'll keep going throughout the public comment session. And then we as a committee will either vote to adjourn the forum, or if there's time, seek a second round of comments. Meg and then Erica.
Two things, questions. Julian, are you planning to use this slide deck that Andy did? And the second is, somewhere early on, to preempt the people who say, how come my idea isn't there, is to be sure they know that we've discussed and voted on all of these. So people made suggestions that aren't there because they didn't get the votes. I've already been asked that, why isn't my thing there? And I said it didn't get the votes.
Thank you, Meg. I was going to use Andy's slideshow, but I was hoping to add a slide or two to say exactly that. Like, we voted on all these issues, and if your suggestion isn't here, it's because it didn't get the votes of the committee. If you're curious about how we voted, if I remember correctly, I'll answer it.
But that raises the question of whether in the final report we want to put the votes in, which somebody suggested.
Already voted to do that. The folks who are writing the final report will have to go back and find the votes and include them in the final report. Erica. Erica? You're muted, I think.
Apologize. I don't remember if Andy's presentation actually includes the language from the preliminary report that describes our process and how we came to certain decisions, how we took in feedback, how we filtered down from whatever it was, 200 to X number down to 18. And that's, I think, a useful thing to provide context at the top of this forum so that people understand exactly how we got to where we got to. Yeah, I had another question, but it slipped my mind.
Right. Marcus and then Raphael.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also add, I think we need a meeting scope slide, because we've got a committee scope, but we need to be like, why are we here today?
And I would strongly suggest that be posted in the hall as well on a big whatever, so people can refer to it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Raphael?
Yeah, I like the ideas that have been offered. I think the process, though, we should be really clear about the how. Yes, there's voting involved, but there's some other things about what was plausible or not that should definitely be shared with the public. I wonder, though, if we should perhaps, like, we have these recommendations listed here. I didn't hear if we're sort of moving through these recommendations to hear from the public one by one. Is it worthwhile to have the rationale as a part of this slideshow or not? I'm not sure I heard your recommendation, Julian. Are we taking up these recommendations one by one to hear from the public or not? And should we include a rationale that's included in the report?
I do think we should include the rationale somewhere. We will also provide the preliminary report.
The report. That's true. That's right. You said that.
So folks can look at that. We'll ask Athena to print out some copies before the meeting.
So in terms of process, are one by one or it's just open?
I think it should be just open. I think there's certain topics that will garner a lot more questions and comments than other topics that, for example, clarifying the definition of measure, I doubt will garner much discussion. Does that answer your question to an extent?
Yeah, yeah. Other folks feel the same way?
Yeah, good question.
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking aloud right this second, but like maybe it's more useful to group them either around the article or the nature of the recommendation, as opposed to going through in order one by one.
I'm open to that. I think by article, most of our recommendations fall in article 2.
Yeah, they are.
So I think that wouldn't be as effective, but we could group it by sort of larger issues, if you will, and more like language discussions. I think that just using our first page here as an example, I think with items such as clarify definition of measure, clarify majority vote, etc. Those are smaller level issues. Whereas I think term limits, non-management staff, increased district counselor meetings, those are things that people will rightfully have comments and questions about.
Could I share one last thing?
Go right ahead.
I only raise it because I think report writer, final report will benefit from an opportunity for folks to weigh in on these 18.
I agree. Just going to keep scrolling down here. Please raise your hand if you have questions. This will garner a lot of comments, I think.
Yep.
And I think we'll break it up by first comments on the report, then comments on the addendum.
Right.
Erica?
I would agree, but I think that there's a lot in each of these addendum slides, and I realize Andy just put this together as a draft, but I would really suggest that we break this out a little bit.
Yes.
I agree. This is a very rough draft.
This,
And this is the end of the slideshow.
so
Meg?
I apologize. Did we agree that we're in the final report, we're going to put the vote? Indicate the voting, who voted?
So yes.
Yep.
I
So we,
At least
Don't-
for non-unanimous votes.
I don't remember when we agreed to that. And I think it's going to be difficult to walk back through 33 meetings to find all that unless we have all the minutes and the votes are clearly detailed in the minutes. I also think it's irrelevant who voted which way. I mean, it's basically that, this is a report from the committee, not from,
It's not who voted.
it's not who voted, it's how the vote came to be. And one of the things that we don't have in the slide deck is a mention of our charge, which is what started this whole thing. And a notion about, if we didn't accept a recommendation, it wasn't simply because it didn't get enough votes. There was a logic behind that. Get back to the point that Raphael's made time and time again, that the logic behind it was we had a certain standards that we felt didn't rise to the level of being included in a charter. They were too specific, or they weren't specific, and they were too vague. They were areas that could be better addressed elsewhere than in the charter. So that's the kind of stuff that I think we need to be prepared to talk about too.
Yes. And I was going to make a comment myself. And I can't raise hand when I'm screen sharing, so I don't want you to feel like I'm cutting you guys off. But I was just going to share that I generally agree with you, Bernie, that that having the number of votes, I worry in my mind will just give less weight to some of the recommendations. If the town council sees something as 5-3 or something like that, it will only encourage them to interrogate why that is and to sort of give less weight to the recommendations that we're setting, and encourage sort of a level of scrutiny into certain recommendations. I don't think that's necessarily appropriate or what we want as a committee, but that's just my feeling. So I agree. I think it'd be quite arduous. Raphael, then Erica, and Meg, did you lower your hand?
Lowered my hand. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what we decided. I can't recall, but I think the point about having to go through would be a lot of work. But there are a lot of these reports that do have the vote in this thing. Just FYI.
We did decide to include votes
Yeah.
that were not unanimous
Okay.
in the report. At
Okay.
I believe.
It was on the 26th.
Thank you.
But that was, after we've gone through a lot of these already. So recording prior votes, I think to Bernie's point, could be problematic. I mean, we'll put in what we've got and see what it looks like. So
I think I would agree, Marcus. That's a reasonable conclusion. Erica, and then Marcus.
On the question of recording the vote, like we did voice vote and named vote on all of these things, and I think only maybe 1 or 2 items came out on a fully split vote, which means everything is either majority or unanimous on one way or the other. Just to say that, and then the Bernie made a point earlier that I just wanted to respond to, that the context around process and stuff is, like I said, part of that's been written up in the narrative of the previous reports, and I think we should include that in the context that we set up. Like, how did we come to these decisions and what's included, and those decisions that we made about voting, how to vote, the process of voting can be discussed openly with the public. There's nothing that we're hiding. We're just making a decision about our process.
Thank you, Erica. I will just.
I put my hand back up, but
We'll just quickly
and
add.
Marcus.
Excuse me, Meg. I will just quickly add that that we as a committee have 2 issues that we were had tie votes on, and both made their way into the addendum. Marcus, I think you raised your hand, lowered it, so thus you're actually first before Meg.
Oh, I was just responding to Erica's point. My issue is we don't have the minutes for all of the meetings to be able to pull up the votes. So I just wanted to be clear on that. That's what we're talking about. If we can get our hands on them, we can put them in. Otherwise, and a lot of these are actually the split votes were more in the addendum than they were in the real deal. So
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Okay, Meg, your turn. Go ahead. You're muted. I'm gonna ask.
I'm probably a minority, but I do support putting them in when we can. An example is term limits was not unanimous at all. And that's a contentious one. But I think most people don't agree. Whatever. I just think it's useful to see whether it was 5-3 or 8-0.
Do you mean term limits for council president, or do you mean term limits in general?
In general, but in this case it was council president, but in general.
Only council president is in the report.
Yeah, I'm just saying it wasn't 8-0. Let's just give it an example.
Raphael?
Yeah, just to circle back to, are we clear about who's doing what? Who's doing the introduction? Who's facilitating the review of these recommendations? Addendum. Are we adapting these slides? Could we attend to those things? We only have a little bit of time left.
Yeah, I agree. We should adapt these slides. I don't want to be the only one doing it. It's not my committee. It's everyone's committee. And I would rather the public get a chance to hear from a diversity of folks on the committee. So I guess I'll take this point to ask, do folks want to give a slide or set of slides that they would like to cover and explain to the public, or do we have someone who would like to do the introduction, for example, so on and so forth? Just raise your hand and volunteer yourself if you're interested.
I can talk through some slides on the addendum if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Erica. Yep. Okay. I'll assign you to the addendum. Raphael?
I was going to say, as the chair, do you mind opening things up?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I don't mind helping with adapting the slides.
Great. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I said yes, absolutely, but by that I meant no, I don't mind. That's fine.
So do we need
sorry, yeah, I can help you, Raphael, too. I'm just trying to figure out if they're on Google Slides or how to get.
It looks like he put in a PDF, but someone.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Google Slides. I'm personally too young to be a Word person. I only use Google Docs and stuff.
No, we need to use Google Docs so we can all get to it. So.
Exactly. Okay.
We have Erica dealing with the addendum. What about the recommendations? Do we have someone who's...
Does someone want to do that? If not, I can, but if someone wants to, go for it.
Meg?
What is this task?
We're trying to figure out facilitation of the meeting.
Well,
So
I'm happy to help, but
Okay.
I've done a lot of facilitating. I'm happy to help, but whatever.
Just to preface you in case you missed something, we are talking about the actual issues in the preliminary report to facilitate the discussion of those issues. If someone would like to do that, if someone would not like to do it, I'll do it.
So I'm happy to do it unless someone else wants to do it.
Great.
No, I really liked Meg's facilitation style when we had the early meetings. So
I agree. Great.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I'm going to mute again.
Just a question, Meg, are you clear on what the facilitation of the recommendations section of this presentation is going to involve?
Well, I was planning to do some work on it with who would like to help me be clear about that. We could do that right now or after this meeting. Erica, should we do it right now?
I think there's other things to discuss right now, but
yeah, I agree.
I'm doing this section on the addendum, so
who would like to just have me call them one or two of you to talk through how to do this. Erica?
Meg, I, Meg,
Raphael?
if you look at the slides, Meg,
Yeah?
there are 18 specific recommendations. We need to decide, and it would be good to get some guidance about how these might look in the slides. Like, it's just a review of those 18 recommendations. What
Oh,
does
not the
public
meat.
have,
Okay.
what does the public have to say about those recommendations? Some people feel like there won't be much to say. There was a conversation about chunking them based on the articles. So we could decide that. It'll help with slide sort of adaptation, but it's just a facilitation on public thought on 18 specific recommendations.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. So
Shall I call?
I assume facilitating that
It
is
doesn't sound too hard, but I think I understand.
yeah.
But I'll call you, Raphael, just to talk
Okay.
it through.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that
I'd be
okay?
happy.
That's okay.
And I can help too. I guess I was trying
Oh,
to
great.
I was trying to talk over Raphael, but he beat me out.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that too, Meg. We don't have to
Okay.
if
Why don't we do it together?
Sure.
we could if as long as that can be nice and sort of quick and efficient.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It seems like we have a good plan for this. Other comments, questions on the preliminary report public forum planning before I move on to future to final presentation to the town council. Erica.
Can we talk about Erica has her hand up. I'll let her go.
Just before we move on, two questions: duration and note taking, the issue I raised earlier.
Duration is 2 hours. Note taking.
Are we dividing that time up at all? Like, are we designating, let's move on to the next thing? Like, are we breaking it down at all?
I think I told the committee this before. I may not have, but I believe that we're doing 30 minutes in the beginning to run through the presentation and discuss. And then we have 30 minutes for the initial discussion and comments. And then we have 30 minutes to discuss the addendum and 30 minutes to discuss the actual issues, and we'll end on the actual issues because that's the most likely thing to overrun our time, if you will.
Okay, just so that I understand, 30 minutes is an introduction with background and about our process or whatever, and then 30 minutes of open discussion.
Yep.
And then 30 minutes about the addendum and 30 minutes about the 18 recommendations.
Correct. And by that, I don't mean 30 minutes of us talking about them. I mean 30 minutes of discussing with the public about the addendum recommendations.
So okay, great. And then so when you have the 30 minutes for the addendum, is that when we're presenting the addendum relevant slides?
No, we would present the addendum relevant slides in the introduction.
Wait a minute.
Because I think it might be helpful to put them up sort of closer to the time that we're inviting discussion.
We can put them up on the screen at that point, but
That's what I mean.
I don't think it makes sense to basically have I'd like to finish our presentation at once in the first 30 minutes. That way we're not sort of wasting away at the time that the public gets to talk about it.
Yeah, what I was suggesting was that we do a short introduction of a kind of overview, and that put the slides that are relevant to that section of the discussion closer to the time of discussion. That's all.
Raphael?
Yeah, just to double check on who's in person, who's on Zoom. I think I'm going to join on Zoom. I think I have to. But just to be clear about that, and then some details about that aspect of the facilitation. Like, what's the approach?
I believe we'll have 3 members on Zoom. I took a poll of the committee.
Okay.
We'll have 3 members on Zoom, and it looks like we'll have an additional 5 members in person, is what it appears. I will try to balance Zoom and in person, same with public comments. I am bad at finding you on Zoom while managing the public comments in person if your camera is off. So either turn your camera on or literally shout out to me and say, hey, you missed me.
Do you feel like you would benefit from some support there, or you feel like you got it?
I got it, as long as
All
folks
right.
are willing to speak up for themselves.
All right. All right. Great.
Meg?
That's it.
Could you clarify, just so we all agree, who's facilitating these four sections, the 30-minute introduction, the 30-minute open discussion, the addendum, and the 18 recommendations?
We will split it up so that I do the introduction and then
Okay,
allow who has taken each section. I will have followed by you, Meg, going over the recommendations, followed by Erica going over the addendum, right?
okay.
And following that, we will move into open discussion. And then after
Oh.
open discussion, we will allow Erica you to facilitate the addendum discussion, and Meg you to facilitate the recommendations discussion, and I'll sort of take a step back as chair and let you guys do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you type that up just to be sure we all agree?
Erica?
Yeah, that was my request. Could you write up that timeline?
Sure, I can send it in an email to the committee before the public forum.
I just want to think we all need to be on the same page with the plan. I'm not worried about what the plan is. I just want to be sure I know what it is.
Yeah, sure. I can write it up in an email to remind the committee before the public forum. It'll also probably be in the minutes. Other comments, questions on this? Just noting we have 15 minutes for our next discussion.
I had raised an issue about note taking.
Because it's a public forum, we're not required to have minutes the same way, I don't believe.
It's recorded, right?
Yeah, that's what I
Erica?
thought. We're getting it recorded, right?
Yes.
Because it's in the town room.
Yes. Erica?
Yeah, typically when the recording happens, it doesn't get posted in a way that we can use for several days. And since we have a meeting 2 days later in which we want to try to at least address or look at a list of what came up, I'm raising a question about, does anyone have a great suggestion for note taking at the public forum, or are we going to kind of rely on notes, like actual pen in a notebook notes?
I was just going to ask Marcus, and he raised his hand right at the perfect time. So go right ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, so I was thinking, so the last few forums we did, we'd had a very good job of everyone just, jotting down notes and then coming together afterwards just to clear things up, and using those. The recording we did at the offsite, I have it, but I can't do anything with it. So it's, and AI apparently doesn't do that stuff, which we thought it did. But anyway, because you're not, unlike this where everybody's individually identified, it's not usable. So I think, just pen and paper notes. Plus we've got the just overall recording for prosperity's sake. So
yeah, I was just gonna add, the town posts these things every Friday, so we probably won't have it in time for our committee meeting on the 18th, but they do. I mean, if it's Tuesday that we have our public forum, it's 3 days. So until they actively post it, at one of our prior meetings, I tried recording on my phone, and that was a massive failure. So
that's the same. I mean, I tried to get it. It was like 40 megabytes of stuff that the town can't even upload.
Too
So
large for most computers to process, both on what I did and what you did. So as much as we both put in our good effort to transparency, but it did not work out.
Right.
Erica?
Yeah, so maybe Julian, when you write up the timeline and distribute it among us about exactly the sections of this evening, you could designate a note taker for a given section, a primary note taker, because, and maybe I'm just asking this, maybe it's just me, but when I'm going to be facilitating a discussion about, excuse me, the addendum, um, I I I know I will not be able to take good notes on that, and I really need good notes on that discussion because that's part of what we'd agreed on earlier is that we're going to try to take some of what we hear anywhere in the public discussion and bring it back for our final report in
Hey,
some form.
I'm just going to chime in here and add that we can get the recording the day after if we contact town hall. So the recording can be ready Monday morning when town hall opens at 8:30, as long as I send an email to them, which I will, and then I'll email it to the rest of the committee.
But I think it's just good practice that if you're not talking, you're writing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay. I'm just for the sake of time here. Any other comments on this?
Would
Nope.
you reduce the screen share?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Great. Moving us right along to the final presentation of town council. The town council president emailed me as well as Athena and suggested that on the 5th, we will, at that point, they'll have a new president, but on the 5th, we'll give a presentation to the town council. And that will be in the form of like a slideshow attached with our final report. And we will also be present at their meeting on the 12th to discuss the recommendations and forward them off. Either, I don't believe they'll dispose of them at that meeting, but they will discuss them and ask questions and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to ask the committee how we wanted to handle that. We'll need one person to volunteer to make an actual Google slideshow and send it to the committee, and then we'll approve it on the 29th. And we also will need to decide if we want to post it as a joint meeting. The council and the town, of the council and our committee both times, and have as many committee members attend as possible, or if we would like to designate a group of committee members to attend and speak at both meetings. It can be the same group, a different group, or if we wanted to designate me as the chair to speak, which I would prefer not to, because I would rather allow the council to hear from as many committee members as possible. So those are the decisions before us. We don't necessarily have to make them tonight, but if we can, we should. Marcus and then Meg.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think for presentation wise, what we have with Andy's as the basis, whatever we come up with is probably a good starting point for that final presentation, right? I mean, we would just update it with the feedback that we put into the final report to match it, change the name. I mean, the council is probably going to be like the people at the forum, in the fact that they need some background, they need to understand. Obviously we can take a scope out because we're not there to preach them about stuff, so there's that as the background. And I think make it a joint meeting is probably our best bet. So I think those that can make it would be awesome, just so that councillors can put a face to the fact that there's more than, like you said, more than just one person doing this.
I agree, and I'm sure Andy would be willing to help us edit the slideshow as needed. Meg?
I agree that we should go for a joint meeting rather than one of us speaking. I think my understanding is if it isn't a joint meeting, it would be only Julian doing all the speaking. And I just think the dynamic, creates more sense of clout that this is a council appointed committee making a report. The whole committee's there, or many of us, we should do that.
Marcus, do you still have a comment? Great. I was just going to share that I agree. And I think that in addition, the Andy can make a slideshow, can finish the slideshow up and make it look nice for the council. I just wanted to clarify, do we want to post both meetings as a meeting of the whole committee or just the first meeting? I would encourage both. And we should also figure out who is sort of doing the majority, who's doing the presentation itself, and then we can sort of open it up for discussion and questions and allow everybody on the committee to respond. Ken?
Quick parliamentary question. Andy will be sitting on that council at that time. Can he make the presentation to himself?
That's a good
You know what I
question.
mean?
Probably
Or
not.
he had to recuse himself? He can't ask questions about this as a counselor, can he?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Huh. Which booth will? Anyway, this is a good.
It's a chicken and egg problem.
It
Yeah.
is a chicken and egg problem. Anyway, I will seek a motion. For what Megan Marcus were
Again?
Marcus and then Bernie.
Sorry, yeah, no. Yeah, I agree that I think we should have joint meeting for both of those council meetings, and that we use the preliminary forum as the presentation as the basis and update it as needed. So
Is that a motion?
that is a motion. Yes.
I'll second that motion. Bernie?
Just again, a parliamentary question, because if we submit the report on the 5th, we go out of existence. The committee's dissolved. So we may not have to post the 12th. We just have to show up.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. But I mean, ideally, I'm going to amend my motion that the meetings are posted as joint where applicable, but for both the committee attempts to attend, or the current people that are on the committee attempt to attend.
I agree with your amendment, and I will just note that it's 6:30 Mondays that the town council meets, both on the 5th and the 12th. So that gives folks plenty of time to mark their calendars,
Yeah.
almost a month, or a little less and a little more in each case. So
And the presentation is on the 5th, correct?
correct. And you can attend in person or on Zoom. It would be great to, at some point, figure out who's going to be in person, who's going to be on Zoom for those meetings, but it doesn't need to be now. I'm just going to move us forward with voting if you don't have an additional question, Marcus.
No, that's great. Thank you. Sorry, I need to put my hand
No
down.
problem. Myself, I'm an aye. Bernie?
Yes.
Marcus?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
Raphael?
Yes.
Ken?
Aye.
Erica?
Yes.
That's unanimous. I just did want to note that that Andy, as long as Andy makes the presentation before, finishes the presentation before January 1st, or excuse me, January 5th when he's sworn in, as long as he finishes the editing that before then, it is in no way a parliamentary issue or conflict of interest, etc. He can just give us that presentation, we approve it or make edits to it as a committee, and then the council would ask questions, and he wouldn't be answering the questions for the committee. We as a committee would answer the questions at that time. He's welcome to ask questions or make arguments as he pleases. He may choose to recuse himself. I don't know the law on that. He may have to, he may not. But we will be the ones answering the questions at that point, not Andy. And I presume he won't be asking many questions either, since he's watched the process. Raphael?
I don't think I don't think we have to worry about Andy as a member of the council and
Raphael?
former member of the committee. There's no legalities in that. I mean, he's free to speak as part of the committee or not, as he chooses. So
Raphael?
I don't know if the committee's interested in adding some time to either provide feedback about this process that's included in the report. I think it's worthwhile for us to be able to weigh in on how we think this went for town council.
Thank you. Erica?
That, Raphael, that is one of the proposed sections for the final addendum, is a review of the review process, for which I will solicit
Okay.
feedback from the rest of the committee members.
Great, great, great. Thanks. Great.
Thanks, Erica. Future agenda planning, any topics? Okay. Topics not anticipated. Nope. Okay. Any further comments on the final presentation of the town council? Okay. We will meet on the 18th.
I'm just,
One moment. One moment.
Okay.
We will meet on the 18th at 6 o'clock. We'll meet again on the 29th at 6 o'clock. I will send a sort of schedule, if you will, for the public forum. I'll send that hopefully this weekend, and we'll have the public forum on the 16th at 7 o'clock in the town room or on Zoom. We have the presentation of the council on the 5th at 6:30, and then again on the 12th at 6:30. So I just wanted to make sure everyone has those dates on their calendar and is aware that that's how we'll close out our process. And that Bernie and Marcus, with the help of Raphael, and possibly Ken, Erica, and Meg, will be getting us a preliminary or a final report, excuse me, by hopefully the 18th, with some additional edits being made to approve it on the 29th. Meg, do you still have a question?
I can send an email. It's not a question. Oh, I'll just say it. I'm having hip replacement next Thursday, so I won't be there unless somehow miraculously I am.
Great. All right. I have Erica.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, Meg.
Yeah,
I
good
can't
luck.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, just my question was, Julian, can you please verify after the meeting that Athena can actually do the 29th with us?
I will email her, of course. Yes. I believe she's left, which means hopefully her daughter's doing well. I will make sure to shoot her an email before I post the agenda, or we can ask her on the 18th. It doesn't matter. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Erica,
Yes.
myself, I'm an I. Raphael,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes.
Yes.
Marcus,
Yes.
and Meg.
Yes.
Okay. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, you all. Take care.
Thank you.
See you.
Good night, everybody.